Okay, so today, Ram aims for a revolution with its innovative new electric pickup. So, this story is pretty much all over Yahoo. So, you've probably already seen plenty of the pictures. So, they're saying previewing the 2024 Ram 1500 battery electric vehicle. The concept presented at CES 2023 shows off a slippery design, loads of high tech features, highly configurable interior with third row jump seats. So they're saying, yeah, the Ram 1500 BEV concept was just unveiled. The interior has a rail system allowing for customizable seating arrangements, and the powered midgate includes third row jump seats and a pass through to carry objects up to 18 feet long. Electric motors on the front and the rear axles provide all wheel drive, and Ram claims the steering wheel can retract into the dashboard for level 3 autonomous driving. Now, thus far, the trucks that have come to market, I might even read a story about that. Like you have the F-150 Ford Lightning, you have the Rivian R1T, and I believe that there might be a couple of other trucks, but at the front of my mind, the Rivian and the Ford F-150 basically stand out. There's a story that was basically talking about recently that the towing range on these things is terrible. And I think that's part of Tesla's problem right now with the Cybertruck. I'm not exactly sure about all of their production issues, but I think one of the problems that they probably have is meeting their towing specifications that they've claimed. And you already know that pretty much everything that Elon Musk claimed years ago when they unveiled the Cybertruck, a lot of that is going to probably have to be scaled back. Now, if they're still trying to make sure that they don't have to scale some of that back, I'm pretty sure one of the issues is going to be tow range. But first of all, and I've kind of explained this already. The reason why I'm going electric is for a number of reasons, and that's the reason why I'm going for my electric Cadillac. It's for a number of reasons. Number one, because I feel that I'm wasting way too much money on gas. It's like I could be investing so much more of that cash into my stock portfolios, and I could be making so much more money over time if I wasn't spending what I'm spending in fuel. Now, some people may think about that and be like, yeah, well, yeah, blah, blah. It's soulless and the vehicles, it's got no soul and all that shit. I'm like, oh, listen. The issue is actually a couple of things. Number one, it's because I'm wasting fuel. Number two, I had extended the warranty on my Jeep SRT, and that warranty is eventually going to end again. And if you want to extend it again, you can only extend it one more time. And I really don't think I want to do that because at this point, one thing I've realized about these Chrysler products, once you pass like 60,000 miles, you basically have to rebuild these entire vehicles. And I'm not saying the entire vehicle, but steering components, all-wheel drive systems, transfer case, differentials. You basically got to rebuild all that shit. Now, if it's covered under warranty, it's not so bad because the thing about it is you can always just drop it off at Chrysler and you can leave it there for maybe a month and maybe they'll be able to fix everything and then hand it back to you completely fixed under warranty. What I've noticed is they take their sweet time when you're talking about doing things under warranty. They take their damn sweet time. Which is an issue that I had when I had to recently have a PCM replacement, steering components, head gaskets done, a brand new alternator, and so forth and so on. So the thing about it is, it's that I'm wasting a lot of fuel. I want a newer vehicle. I want something a little bit more luxury. I want something that can drive itself autonomously. And on top of that, I just really am excited about that car. Now, that's not the only car I'd consider, but there's really no other option. What's so strange is that Rivian has already put the R1T and the R1S on the streets. And you've got a bunch of other companies. Lucid got their cars out on the streets. Meanwhile, Cadillac still hasn't handed me my Lyric. And on top of that, Chevy has announced a Blazer, and they announced a what was it called? They announced the Blazer and they announced the Chevy Silverado. And I actually like the way the Silverado EV looks. It kind of looks like the Chevy Avalanche. And I always liked the way the Avalanche and the Cadillac EXT looked. But the thing about it is these cars are at least a year or two away. We're not going to see those cars for a long time. The Lyric is going to be like the first launch, and that's a Cadillac car. It's going to be in very limited numbers. From what I had heard, Cadillac was paying people not to talk about it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to pay people in order to keep how should I say, not a non-disclosure agreement, but they don't want you to talk bad about it if you experience any problems. They're trying to do focus groups or something. And they had offered I think it was like $5,000 because I'd seen that story on Car and Driver, right? Bottom line is for me, people are, oh, what about a road trip? What are you going to do with this road trip? Well, first of all, I don't take road trips. You've probably noticed something about me. Anywhere I want to go that's further than like 300 miles, I just fly there. That's number one. I don't take road trips. Furthermore, if I did need to take a road trip, and God forbid I had to bring family with me, because believe me, let me tell you something, I hate driving with other people in the car. I fucking hate it. When I want to open up my windows and drive at fucking 90 miles an hour, the last thing I need is my mom, my father, my uncle, or any of my other fucking family members, my aunt. I don't need anybody. Oh, why are you driving so fast? It's cold in here. It's like, could you just shut the fuck up? It's like I would have left you at home, but and the thing about it is they always are fucking complaining. First of all, when I'm in my car, I'm usually doing like double the speed limit. I'm usually got the windows down, as if it's summer. If it's winter, I typically don't have the heat up very much. My father complains, it's too hot in here. I swear to God, it's like fucking Goldilocks. I got my father, oh, it's too hot in here. Got my mother, oh, it's too cold in here. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. and then you got other people, oh, do you have to play the music that loud? Or what's the other one? Could you take those corners a little slower? It's like, you just want to pull over and just tell them get out. So at this point, I really don't like taking road trips. That's the bottom line. If I did need to take a road trip, I would definitely use a minivan. I don't really care the brand of minivan because most of these minivans are about equal in, stuff. And they have pretty much all the same stuff, Chrysler Pacifica minivan, a Kia Carnival, I really don't care. But if I needed to take a road trip, I would definitely probably use a Chrysler Pacifica minivan. I like the fact that it has those electric sliding doors. So if somebody wants to get in or out, all you got to do is reach out, push the button, the door slides open and everything, they get in or out. I like the fact that there's a lot of second row seat space. I like the fact that the first row has a lot of space. And when you really feel like leaning back, the chairs are pretty good because it's a minivan. It's a flat floor, a lot of space in there. So if I was taking a road trip, I'd be using a minivan. I would not be using a Jeep S. Fuck no, I wouldn't be using that Jeep SRT. First of all, the gas prices alone and the fuel range, I wouldn't be driving that car. Furthermore, there's the tires. The tires that I have on my car are not run flats. The ones that came with the car were Pirelli Scorpions Verdes. Those were run flat tires. The ones that I have now are not run flat tires. I would never want to drive that car out of fear that I could get a flat tire and not have a full-size spare in the car. I wouldn't want to do that. I would rather take a minivan. Nice, fat, thick tires, probably a spare in the back. And this way, if I had a problem, I could just AAA that shit. Or in most states, there's plenty of Jiffy Lubes, there's plenty of Pep Boys, there's plenty of places you could pull over and you can fix a tire. Bottom line is, I don't do road trips. If I needed to do a road trip, just like I've done recently, I can borrow or use a different vehicle if I want to take my family with me. Like I could get a minivan or something. I have access to other gasoline cars if I really, really needed to do a road trip. However, because these charging networks have gotten so good and you're seeing DC fast charging popping up in places, I wouldn't mind doing a road trip if it's not a very, very long distance in an EV. What you'll never see me doing, however, is towing anything. As much as I like these trucks, I don't tow anything. If I need to tow something, I'll go to Home Depot, borrow a truck, and then give it back to them as soon as I'm done. I don't need to tow anything. I just don't. So that's, that's not a non-issue. I'm not towing anything. Also, if I needed to tow something, I could take $10,000 cash and I could buy one of these old Ford Expeditions, or I could buy an old Lincoln Navigator, or some piece of shit old beat up SUV, and I could use that to tow if it has enough towing rating and this, that, and other. Or I could buy like a cheap truck or something, but I don't tow anything. I just don't. Now, I've diverted a lot. As far as this Ram truck goes, okay, so they're talking about the F-150 Lightning. They're talking about the Silverado EV. I really do like the way the Silverado EV looks. And I looked at these photos of this Ram truck, and I have to say it looks really good. The problem is this is a concept. Most of this stuff is not going to make it into production. I can already tell. They're saying the cabin is 4 inches longer than on the current gas-powered truck and features Ram Track, the rail assistance. So you've probably already seen the photos. The one thing that stood out to me was the fact that they have like a panoramic roof, and the panoramic roof looks really cool. I don't know if that's going to make it into production. That would have to be an option if it did make it into production, because to have that much glass roof on a vehicle that's a truck, especially when you consider people take these things to work environments, hard hat environments, I'd have to think that a panoramic roof like that, I just don't see that making it into production. It's easy for Tesla to put a roof like that on the Model X, but I really don't see that making it into production on a pickup truck. I just don't see it. Now, they could prove me wrong. I just don't see it happening. Most of these concept ideas are proof of concept stuff, but the reality is they'll never put shit like this into production. It's just like those gull-wing doors on the Lincoln Navigator that they showed you. They were never going to put that into production. And it's a sad thing that they didn't. It would have been nice that they did, but they didn't. So what else? They're saying that this thing, the Ram says that up to 100 miles of range can be added in 10 minutes. So they're talking about DC fast charging. They're saying that if you DC fast charge these vehicles, you can add a lot of range in a very short period of time. Obviously, because this is still a concept, what they can't tell you is how much towing range you're going to get. They can't even make that promise. They can't talk about it. They can't make that promise, because if they did try to promise it, chances are they would fall short. So these are the photos that they've got. They got 44 photos. So that's the truck right there. Looks pretty good. It doesn't look as, how should I say, it doesn't look as aggressive as, say, the T-Rex. But then again, nothing else does. The T-Rex is a monstrous vehicle. It's just monstrous. I like what they did with the flatbed area. That looks good. The C-pillar, the D-pillar, all that looks cool. The front fascia, that definitely could make production easily, because for the most part, this is exactly what you already see on the Dodge Durango for the most part. So I'm pretty sure they could do this and have the big Ram letters. I don't know if most people would really want that, though, but, they could do that. And I see it has the 3 yellow lights right there, which means that this thing must be pretty tall, because you have to have those 3 lights when you pass a certain height. Those 3 lights are on the Ram truck, for example, the TRX. Because that thing is like a lifted truck. So, there's regulations that say you have to have those 3 yellow lights at a certain height. What else? So they show a lot of pictures. Basically, this is the interior. They've gone as sparse as they can go with the interior, but it looks like they do have hard buttons for the HVAC, heating, ventilation, and AC. It looks like they have hard buttons again for the steering wheel, because I have to say, Chrysler's design, when it came to the steering wheel and it came to the hard buttons, they had a very good design. The volume button and the seek button on the back of the steering wheel takes a little getting used to, but it's not a bad design. It's actually a pretty good design. I like the SRT steering wheel specifically. It's big, it's thick, it's leather. Unfortunately, SRT is gone now. So now everything that they make, you're not going to get SRT products anymore unless it's a very specific Dodge product. This is a Ram product. So, you lose that. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't make a big, bulky steering wheel. It's just if it doesn't say SRT on it, it just doesn't, it's not as cool. Putting lit up Ram letters, I mean, some people might like that, but I mean, after you have an SRT steering wheel, it's like you don't want to go back to a regular steering wheel. And, that's just what it is. So then they show this thing from the side. It looks almost like there's lights on the seat adjusters for the bottom of the seat where the cushion is. I don't know if that'll make it into production. Maybe it will. It looks like they say they have a rails in the front bed for you to be able to position cargo. So they're going to make a frunk in this thing. A lot of these car makers who are making EVs have decided not to make a front trunk frunk because they're saying that the studies show a lot of people don't bother using it. I think that's a cop-out, but, that's what they say. And in most cases, these frunks are so small that you really can't get that much in there. It's one thing, like, if maybe it's just big enough to put, like, work clothes and work equipment, like if you have construction vests and you have a work helmet and all that. But Tesla, when they made their first frunks, they made their frunks deep enough for you to put, like, a carry-on luggage bag in the frunk. My problem with that is if you get into a car accident, that's the first part to get destroyed. And anything you have in there better not be worth anything. Like if you put clothes in the front, okay, maybe that's cool. But I don't know. I don't know if I, feel comfortable putting stuff in the front of the car. Now, granted, the back of the car is also the most likely place the car is going to be hit. The thing about it is the back of the car has a bumper. And that bumper tends to be strong enough to make it so that the whole back of your car doesn't get crippled unless you get hit at like 60 or 70 miles an hour or something, or 50 miles an hour. It looks like they have a new generation of the Uconnect touchscreen. The Ram truck, strangely enough, the 12-inch Uconnect that they have right now, it's a huge screen. The problem is I've heard the software is slow in operation. And after owning an 8.4N, I could probably agree that, yeah, their software may end up being slow as time goes on. But, when you have updatable, software and firmware, it's like you can kind of fix that on the fly if there's a problem. So, yeah, I mean, they show you the panoramic roof. It looks pretty good. It's like, personally, I would prefer the Chevy EV. But then again, I haven't seen these things in person. I haven't been able to sit in them in person. But you can bet that maybe 2 years from now, within 2 years from now, the Jacob Javits Center, when we have a car show and they show all the electric cars, because the bottom line is a lot of you don't like it, but electric cars are the thing, and that's just what it is. It's like they don't care whether you like it or not. If you try to hold on to your old thing, you'll go bankrupt doing it because the parts eventually will go out of print. It'll get harder and harder to fix your whatever you got if it's a gas car. You have no idea what the insurance companies will do. They could raise the price of gas cars. They could make inspections for gas cars more expensive. There's lots and lots of ways the government can fuck with you. There's lots and lots of ways. Ask Andrew Tate. They just took all his fucking cars. The 1 second they're accusing him of something, the next second they're taking all his shit. There's more than enough ways the government can fuck with you. If they don't want you to have something, they can literally, under these liberal laws, they can take your shit right from you. They can tax you out of it. They can regulate you out of it. I know everybody likes to act like they tough and shit. Oh yeah, they'll take my Hemi out of my cold dead hands. It's like, yeah, okay. No, what they'll do is they'll make it so that either you can't get parts or it costs you so much to fix that car, or send you bills for pollution. They come up with shit. They when they think of something, they just do it, and there's nothing, like, they've got you by the balls. There's nothing you can do. And keep in mind, driving is a privilege. It's not a right. They've already shown you that even when you have rights to the Second Amendment, that they'll come after that and take your shit from you then too. We just had a law struck down, or the red flag laws, that was saying, yeah, if I think somebody's crazy or if I think somebody's a threat to somebody, that we could take their guns from them. They just struck that shit down because the problem is the Second Amendment is a right. The problem that you have with driving is driving is a privilege. It's not a right simply because it's not in the fucking Constitution. I know somebody might try to fight me back. They'll be like, oh yeah, well, I have a right to go wherever I want in the country. Yeah, you have a right to move about, but nobody said how. You could be on a fucking horse and they could tell you, yeah, well, you can't use the horse because the horse is not regulated, so you can't use the horse. Or they could say you can use a bike. I don't know if you want to do that shit. Driving's a privilege. It's like they can make up laws. They can make up regulations. Look what they're doing in California. If your engine is too loud, even if it's factory, they can give you fucking tickets on those things. They're regulating against the V12. They're regulating against the V10. Stock. They don't give a fuck. They're going after these things stock. New York has this shit called the Sleep Act. Most of these people don't know the law. They have what's called the Sleep Act. They got cameras with microphones and they can record your exhaust and send you tickets in the mail just as if you had run the red light or just as if you had sped past at 30 miles an hour. Now, I know the first thing somebody's going to say is, oh, yeah, well, I'd never live in New York or California. And then I'd look at them and I'd be like, do you think that if you live in a state where there's not a lot of people and they want revenue, do you think that they won't eventually bring that shit to your state? How many states have red light cameras? How many states already have, what are those things called? Speed cameras for going over a certain mile per hour? Come on, man. It's like y'all need to be smarter than that. These people got you by the balls. So anyway, they got a couple more pictures of it. It's like they keep showing all these pictures of the thing dark and all that, and they're just trying to show off the sheet metal body and all that. And it looks, I have to say, it looks good and everything, but I'd have to see it in real life. I have to sit in it and feel how it feels. But the bottom line is, for me, I'm going to get my Cadillac as soon as these bastards call me up and say it's ready for me to get delivery. But I'm getting my Cadillac. I'm going to drive around in that for a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it is. And if I really like it, I'll hold on to it. And if it doesn't give me any problems, I'll hold on to it. But eventually, within 2 or 3 years, more electric stuff is coming. And then the prices are going to get knocked down. Because as you see right now, Tesla prices are getting knocked down really fast because there's a lot of people who are disappointed that Elon Musk turned on them. Because it's funny, when, Frankenstein was created, the first thing he did was turn on the fucking villagers, and then he turned on Dr. Frankenstein. He killed his woman and shit. And the thing about it is, these people invented Elon Musk with all that government welfare and subsidy, and now this motherfucker turned on him. And now that he's turned on, I have to say, I actually like him now that he's fighting them. I actually like him more. Like, I'm the type of person who, it's like, I like to watch animals fight and shit. Like, I be going on the Nature Channel, and I like to watch scorpions fighting spiders and frogs fighting whatever. And, I like to see that. So watching Elon Musk come at these liberals, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. The entertainment is golden. But they created him. He turned on him. And now these people are, I want to get rid of my Tesla. I'm embarrassed to have it. Elon Musk is a monster and all that bullshit. It's like, whatever. I'm sure your loss will be somebody else's gain, because there's a lot of people out there who would love to have your beautiful blue or red Tesla with its shitty build quality and its white interior seats, its vegan leather and all that nonsense. And your $15,000 self-driving equipment. I'm pretty sure somebody would love it. So that's the truck. Looks good. I'd have to see it in person to decide whether I like it more than the Chevy EV. I'd have to drive it first to tell. Thus far, I really like the Chevy EV the most of all these trucks that I've seen. I really wish Cadillac would build an electric EXT, but the only way that would happen is if they made an electric Escalade, which by itself is definitely coming. But if they had an electric Cadillac Escalade and they had an electric Cadillac EXT and the EXT was based on the Chevy Silverado, it's just a Cadillac, that would be fucking cool. Problem is, they're going to charge like damn near $150,000 for it or something crazy. But then again, price is cool after a while, because I'm starting to see Escalades popping up for less than $100,000 at this point, because the market is just going wild now. The used car market's falling apart. These people can't afford to buy new stuff. They can't afford to buy it used either because the interest rates are so high. So only time will tell. But thus far, I like what I see. It's all concept. None of this is finalized. So what you're seeing is not what you're going to get because it's a concept. But thus far, it looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool. But the main issue, again, is going to be whether or not this thing can deliver on the towing range. So here is a story that was published December 16th. You might have seen it, you might not have. Top Speed, 10 reasons to not buy an electric pickup truck. 10 reasons to not buy an electric pickup truck. I'm not going to read all of this because I don't want to bore you. I will make this video short. 10 out of 10. Electric trucks aren't that good for the environment. Okay, first of all, understand something. Number one, all of the energy on this planet is coming from basically one of two places. Number one, it's either coming from the sun or it's coming from inside the earth where you have uranium that is slowly turning into lead and releasing its radiation. So, first of all, I'm not worried about the earth. In 4.5 billion years, when the sun fucking burns out, the earth is going to basically freeze over and die. And I'll be long dead. I'm not worried about that shit. So I'm just going to skip over this environmental concern right here. Number 9 out of 10. Mileage falls drastically when towing, which kind of, to me, should have been 1 out of 10, but they put it at 9. It says towing with an EV is not as easy as you might think. Yes, the instant power means it can pull weight easily up steep mountain passes or even while overtaking. However, range falls drastically. Through real-life reports that they did, we can easily see that towing with an electric pickup can, in many cases, lead to less than half the available range. You can see how that might be a problem if a car can only do 350 miles of range to start with. Let's just say that with current technology, which is changing, towing a trailer long distance will require very regular and long fill-up stops. Well, fortunately, I have nothing to tow. If I bought one of these trucks, it would simply be because for me, it's a bigger, taller vehicle. And if I have family in it, it's a bigger, more comfortable, taller vehicle for them to be in. So I'm not towing a goddamn what is this? One of those Bobcats to pick up fucking dirt. I'm not towing that. Okay, 8 out of 10. They are impractical for long journeys. Okay, people often use their trucks for long journeys. I don't. The spacious and comfortable interiors make for a great road trip vehicle. I don't do road trips. However, with EVs, you will need to stop more often, and that can sometimes get annoying. Okay, I'm going to skip over that because I don't do road trips with anything. It's just that simple. I fly on a plane. Okay, 7 out of 10. Electric work trucks aren't as efficient as ICE work trucks. Okay, what's this? It says, aside from road trips, pickup trucks also need to drive long distances for work purposes. At the end of the day, they are work vehicles and people need to reach many destinations to complete tasks. How will this be done in an EV that needs charging every 350 miles? Yes, 350 miles per day is a lot. However, keep in mind that this number isn't always accurate, especially when the truck is loaded. While at work, the last thing you want to worry about is whether you still have enough battery to make it to the next site. Let me explain something to you. First of all, while I can understand that they have the range anxiety issue here, the thing that you have to understand is, let's say I'm a foreman and I'm driving this thing back and forth to work. What does a foreman and other construction people have at work? You know what they have? They have tools. What do those tools require in order to do that work, usually? They require electricity. Where's that electricity coming from? It's usually coming from the building, or it's coming from the site, like they have diesel generators or something on site. They make it sound like you can't get electricity when you're at a work site. Like, I have a relative, I'm not going to name names or what they do for a living. And I told her, I was like, listen, if you want to get a Tesla, you can get a Tesla and you could run an extension cord right out of your building, right into that Tesla, because she had a special parking space right behind the building because she was the manager of this building. And she had thought about it, but her problem was that Tesla didn't offer enough miles for the, for the lease. So I'm like, why is it these people act like it's impossible to get like these people, suddenly everybody act like it's impossible to get electricity. Furthermore, you're not charging this thing from 0 to fucking 350 every single day. Even if you lost half your range, as long as you have enough to get back and forth between your garage at home and you get home with enough hours to sleep that you can charge the car at night while you sleep. Like, for instance, I'm looking at my clock. It's 9 o'clock right now. I got home around 4 o'clock. If I got home and I thought that my car is low on power, I would have plugged it in as soon as I got home. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. By 1 a.m., my car would have been 100% full, and I wouldn't have even noticed because I'd have been asleep. Why is it people are acting like it's not possible to get electricity? I don't understand that. That I don't understand. But I think a lot of the complaints come from people who don't understand the technology because they've never actually either used it or they've never owned it. 6 out of 10, they aren't as durable as fuel-powered trucks. Okay, that is a reasonable thing that they could say that it's not as durable. Now, again, I'm not getting a truck anytime soon. I'm not towing anything. And I understand that a lot of these trucks are built extremely tough. They have steel parts in many cases. So I'm going to leave that one that's legitimate. I'm not worried about it, though, because I don't have to work with one of these things. So I'm not worried about it. 5 out of 10, they can't be fixed on the spot. That is a good point. If you have a truck and something goes wrong with it, chances are you could probably take it to any mechanic around here and they could fix the damn thing right up. But when you're talking about electric vehicles, if something goes wrong with my Cadillac, like if for whatever reason there's a problem with the charging or whatever, and this is just a big hypothetical, all I got to do is take the thing back to Cadillac. They will give me a loaner car, a XT5, a XT4, XT6, whatever it is, and they'll fix my car while I'm driving around in the rental, or the loaner, I should say. Now, when you have a truck, I've seen people with Ram trucks, specifically Ram 1500s, and I've seen people with heavy-duty Ram trucks. There was an electrician who I saw, and he had to take his truck back to Chrysler. And they rented him, well, not rented him, they loaned him a loaner truck because they know that they would get a lot of complaints if they didn't have trucks to loan out for a truck person who needs the truck. So typically they'll either loan you a truck or a Durango. So my thing is, I don't need either of those vehicles because of the size. So I'm not really worried about that. But granted, that is a good point. Some people need super heavy duty diesel trucks and stuff. I understand that. They say they aren't great off-road. Guess what? I don't go off-road. I am in New York City. There's no such thing as off-road in New York City. Manhattan, I want you to do me a favor. Come down to Wall Street, Manhattan Financial District. I want you to come down here around Rector, or I want you to come down here around Water Street, and I want you to find me off-road. I want you to drive from Wall Street back over the Queensboro Bridge, and I want you to drive through Queens, and I want you to find me off-road. There is no off-road. I don't go off-road. And I've never driven my truck off-road. It just doesn't happen. I haven't done it. All right. 3 out of 10. Electric trucks are expensive. Well, guess what, guys? I make money. I'm not worried about the cost. So I'm going to skip that. Okay. Number 2 out of 10. Battery performance declines during colder months. Okay. Here in New York, the coldest it's been lately has been around like negative, maybe negative 10. Maybe. Usually, I really feel cold when we're like negative 18 and there's a wind chill. I'm not really worried about extreme cold weather because we really don't get extreme cold weather. This is New York City. This is not Buffalo. In Buffalo, they had cold and blizzard and winter killing people. Here in New York, that's very rare. The only people who die are like people who are just careless or they're outside and they're just not paying attention and they die of exposure. But that typically doesn't happen. There's always a place you can go into for some warmth. That just doesn't happen here. Okay. Number 1 reason. Electric pickup trucks lack character. I'm not even going to read that. As far as I'm concerned, if I like the way it looks and I like the way it drives itself and I like driving it and it's comfortable and it has a heated seat, a cooled seat, I don't give a fuck about character. I'm not even going to read that. So there you have it. Those are their 10 reasons. As far as I'm concerned, only 3 of them are reasonable to even consider. And that's just that. So Bottom line is this: if you don't want an electric car, you don't have to buy one. I want one. I'm going to buy one. Not only am I going to buy one, but I'm going to get that $7,500 tax credit. And you're basically going to subsidize me because I'm getting that tax credit. And that's money that's coming back into my pocket, subsidized by the taxpayers, because y'all was stupid enough to vote Democrat. You got Biden out there giving out your money to Ukraine and Israel and giving it back to taxpayers using subsidies. So I'm going to get my $7,500 tax credit. I'm going to put that towards buying my brand new Barrett M82 A150 caliber assault rifle. And that's just that, because that's my Second Amendment right. So, I'm just going to play by the rules, do it by the law, and so forth and so on. And that's just that. So if there are any questions, comments, criticisms, or concerns, you can file them in the URL section. These are my opinions, and that's just what it is.